I'm Calvin Austin III, wide receiver for the University of Memphis.
It's Anthony Sane for Sports 66 Mornings.
This is Rodney Williams, tight end for the Denver Broncos.
This is Tommy Haynes.
This is EJ Manuel, and you're listening to No Cap Sports.
With No Cap Sports.
And the No Cap Sports.
No Cap Sports, three of the hardest grinding brothers in the business.
So welcome to another edition, No Cap Sports, man. If y'all watching this live on YouTube, y'all see we got a new face, another light skin. You know, we had to bring some balance to it. We got two dark-skinned niggas. Welcome to my nigga, Troy Bush, TJ for short, legend, real ball knower. TJ, what you want the folks to know about you, bro? Go on and introduce yourself.
What's going on? I'm coming to get right. Coming to drop that knowledge on y'all. This something's like nothing
No Diddy. No Diddy, sir.
No, all Diddy. I want all Diddy.
Whoa, yo. First and last day, brother. Yep. No.
Hey, no cap Rico charge on the way. But
TJ Bush Frico charge on the way. That don't got nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with us at all.
But before we get into this episode, bruh, Josh, I just gotta let you know, bro, you an op-ass nigga, bruh. How you gonna come onto the podcast in a UConn beanie after they just bounced your own Syracuse team from the tournament? That's
bro,
real op behavior, bro. And you really can't be trusted, young nigga.
Bro, it's cold, bro. I don't care. I would wear if it keeps me warm, twin. I do not care. I don't care. Somebody said it to me this morning at the facility. You're really bold with a UConn beanie on in Syracuse. I'm like, bro, you on mute for a good reason, man. But now, I'm like, bro, I don't care. I don't care. I don't have no loyalty to this program. You know what I'm saying? It's a nice beanie. It's like $20. You know what I'm saying? This is more than $20. This is more than $20 worth of beanie. Then you know how black people do. I bought this and then I stole some stuff from the bookstore because I was able to put it in the bag that I got it from. I ain't going to UConn again no time soon. I got a $75 Lululemon shirt for the free.
Cherry Production.
Hey, this shit like videos, you hear me? Everything I'm saying in this motherfucker is all props.
This shit is not real.
Just in case the police listen, I
said my people will never be free.
Shit, it was free for me. Running with that sack, you Emmett Smith. It was free for me, twin.
Bro, I had my shit on mute.
Bro, come on, bro. Come on, bro.
That was an old nigga problem for sure.
Dead ass, bro. Come on.
All right, bro.
Come on, 65.
Bro. But anyway, bro, like I said, Josh, you an op-ass nigga. And apparently,
what the hell?
Bro, I'm just trying to pick it up from where we left off, twin. My fault. Don't beat my ass. And apparently, a lot of players in the NFLPA feel like the owners are some ops as well with some of the rule changes announced. So, to get started, I just want to talk to y'all about these rules, see how y'all feel about them. Starting out with this new kickoff rule, adopting the XFL model, teams lining up 10 yards apart, and pretty much trying to increase the kick return rate over the 20% return rate we saw last season. Personally, I think the kick return is one of the best plays in football, and I hope this brings it back to more prominence. But how do y'all feel about this new kickoff rule to start off with?
I don't know. I've seen some of the visual stuff on it. I don't think it's going to go back to the way that it was, just because the way that it is now is so much different than the way that it was. Even just for me, the Devin Hester kickoff return in the Super Bowl versus the Colts, just with this rule change, that's a moment that we'll never be able to have because it's going to be a lot easier, honestly, to return kicks, at least take it back for touchdowns. There are no more fair catches. There are no more onside kicks until the fourth quarter begins and the team is trailing. See, that's just too specific. Because even in that same Super Bowl, Sean Payton came out. No, it wasn't the same. But when Drew Brees won his Super Bowl, when they came out second half, got an onside kick, how you gonna regulate surprise in the game or strategy? Calm down, on top of
that man busted on himself. Nigga emoted.
But that was a lot, sir. That was a lot. But now, and like we said, Nick, as you the only one still pursuing football professionally, you're taking away jobs from guys that, guys like Matthew Slater on the Patriots, those are lifelong Pro Bowler special team guys. I mean, I'm all about player safety. We shouldn't have guys in a situation like Aaron Hernandez where their brain is so far beyond fried that it's just whatever. But it's gonna suck for playing. It's gonna suck to watch. because I don't even like watching it in the little walkthrough tutorials. So we just one step closer to 7-on-7 NFL football.
Yeah, man. No, they honestly they're forcing this rule. I don't really just love it that much because I feel as if it definitely gives the receiving team an advantage when the offense already has an advantage over the defense. Where the defense you can't really even tackle. You got to tackle them a certain way now. You can't really touch them or hold them. And so, with that being said, imagine a guy running full speed at you, and it's already you got 5 yards in between the receiver team and the kickoff team. So it's a guy running full speed. That's a hard tackle to make. And so at that point, I just feel like it's being forced. I didn't really miss kick returns. And to your point about the guys losing jobs, the punt returner is the same guy most of the time. So I don't feel like you're losing a job with that. I mean, it's a rule change. It can always be amended next season, but for me, I just don't see the point of it.
I think y'all taking the wrong look at the rule as a whole. I think this new kickoff rule, especially since we've already seen these rule changes play out for a full season in the XFL, there were 0 touchdown returns in the XFL using this return. So obviously, in my opinion, it doesn't give the receiving team an advantage, as well as the fact that Josh, y'all brought up the 22 jobs. The jobs are more than just the return, man. There are guys who make a career on special teams, guys who are on the front lines of traditional kick returns. Now they'll be lined up differently, but their job is still the same, to block further return, to make the tackle on kickoff. And by adopting this new format, you reduce the chance for injury. And I think that's the biggest play here. You reduce the chance for injury while also increasing the number of returns. We saw a reduction in injuries last season, but that was only because we saw 20% of kicks returned. So I think there's an equal trade-off here.
I just feel as if, well, when we get at the end of this time next year, we're looking back on it. It's going to be a lot of guys trying to make arm tackles because the guy's running full speed. You're engaged with a blocker that's 5 yards away. You try to get off the blocker. If you don't get off him clean, you're going to be trying to make arm tackles. It's going to be a whole bunch of torn labrums, separated shoulders. I just don't think it's going to be a good rule. It doesn't hurt to try, to your point, but I just don't think it's going to be a good rule. I think it's going to cause more injuries. That's just my opinion on it.
We didn't see it in the XFL. That's my last point on it. We've got a season of tape on it. Now, moving on to the next rule, the hip drop tackle. So let's start off by defining what this is.
Fake news. It's fake news. That's what it is.
Defining the rule book as a defender bringing a runner to the ground by A, grabbing the runner with both hands or wrapping the runner with both arms, and B, unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. We've seen this kind of tackle result in significant injuries over the past 2 seasons, looking at Tony Pollard, Patrick Mahomes, who finished that game versus the Jags, but was obviously in serious discomfort, as well as Mark Andrews this past season where he broke his lower leg. So as 2 defensive guys, and finally we're bringing some balance with my guy TJ being an offensive guy as well, how do y'all feel about this rule particularly?
I'm going to just ask it like this. Like, it's us 4 football players in here. Has any of y'all ever heard a coach, not analyst, TV head, whatever, has any of y'all ever heard a coach refer to the hip drop tackle as an actual technique in practice game? Have you ever heard that?
Nah.
So that's not a thing. The hip drop tackle is not a thing.
No.
You get caught in certain positions to where it's more advantageous to grab at the waist versus like go ahead with the pass. But the hip drop tackle is not a thing. We saw it. The only example everybody keeps showing is the Logan Wilson tackle in the playoffs with the Bengals. Show me another clip. Show me a 5-minute montage of these hip drop tackles that
I just named 3 examples of them.
A 4th one.
You not playing football? You talking about 3 examples?
I mean,
it's more than that, but those were the most prominent ones. They showed a full clip at the owners' meeting. What were you saying?
Pollard's career has never been. It won't ever be the same.
I'm just saying they're trying to outlaw stuff that nobody officially has recognized in NFL collegiate rooms. No coach is out there teaching a hip drop tackle. So to outlaw it when, like Van said, you're just giving another thing, you place another burden on defense, which is already, burden, basketball and football. And is it gonna create more tentative tacklers? You're gonna create more high scoring games. Gonna be less skilled defensive players because there's another thing they got to worry about.
You're less skilled. If you learn how to tackle right, you're more skilled. But continue.
Nah, bro. Because
have they said the punishment for the hip drop tackle?
Like
it'll be a 15-yard penalty, but the Bills owner said it will likely be more enforced in the sense of fines rather than flags on the field.
Just think about this though. Think about even since we've come of age in football, how many things the defensive player has to think about when trying to tackle an offensive player. Like, where is my helmet on the side? Even if my helmet doesn't collide with him first, doesn't hit the ground too hard? Now, am I able to shift the guy, a linebacker, God forbid a linebacker try to tackle a running back. If I miss, can I even arm tackle or grab him at the hip because I might get a fine? So it's just, the game is already too hard for defensive players, basketball and football. And this is just another thing that, everybody likes. Offense sales tickets, gets promo deals. Obviously, the NFL wants to maximize their TV product, but you're diluting the game. And for me, it's getting to the point where you're putting defensive players in unsafe positions because there's so many rules and regulations and things they consider that you got to think about it. You got people like Derrick Henry, 6'3", 230, 240, running up on defensive players. You don't got time to make sure this is a legal tackle. You just need to get him on the ground. And I feel like with all the different things that defensive players need to consider, you might see some more defensive injuries because guys are going to be so tentative or not approaching getting a ball carried down in the proper way with the proper intensity.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Josh's point. I think that they're trying to make a more offensive-centric game. I think this is something that was like a knee-jerk reaction. So if you go back a few years when you had the big blown pass interference call, what was the league's immediate reaction? They reviewed pass interference calls. I think that was one of the worst things to ever happen to football. Stopping a game to review a flag was nuts. I think that was just another thing to cater to offense. One thing that's kind of going on talked about is the fact that the tush push is still in effect. We're talking about the hip drop tackle, which penalized defense. The tush push was OP. I know you watched Philly. Every time they get down, it's 3rd and 1. You're like, all right, we know how this is going to end. Like, we almost got tired of watching it. I think that whenever the NFL senses that the offensive product could even dip a little bit, they kind of have this knee-jerk reaction to center it towards offense more. I think last year, in some aspects, a lot because of an injury, that it was a down offensive year. So I think any time that they make rule changes, it's always going to cater towards offense more so because they don't want ugly AFC headbanging football. We want, this ain't your granddaddy Steelers and Bengals. We don't want to see that anymore. We want to see, 50 dropbacks and 1,500 jukes and returns and hurdles and whatever have you.
I don't know though, bro, because starting with the tush push point, nobody did the tush push as good as the Eagles. You can look at the numbers. The Eagles' success rate was above 85%. I want to say it was touching 90%. Nobody in the league was even 20 percentage points as close. But let me tell y'all a personal story, bro. I'm a fan of the hip drop tackle being banned because no cap, this is true facts, bro. My last fall camp in college, I was tackled twice by two different defensive players in one practice who hip drop tackled me, and I sprained both of my ankles the same day. Fucked up both my ankles the whole season, bro. And this is no cap. Both of the guys literally grabbed me, dropped their weight, fucked both my ankles up for the whole year. I had to take my shit, was in pain all year. And that's a serious injury, bro. Because you think about it, any lower extremity, you walk on it all day, you practice on it, you can never really have the time to heal those injuries during the season. So I understand the owner's point in making this a point of emphasis and trying to teach better tackling principles. At the end of the day, it's about player safety. Even though the NFL's player safety model doesn't line up with all their actions, such as adding an extra game on the season and things like that, I think this is seriously something that should be considered for player safety, especially looking at the fact that this will result in more fines than flags. I don't think it'll have as big of an impact on the actual game as a lot of people are making it out to be.
I mean, a lot of time to counteract your point, it's just I agree 100% with Josh in the fact that nobody's going in there. Hey, I'm a hip drop tackle his ass. You might hear I'm gonna knock his ass out. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do that. But I'm not about to. Hey, I'm a hip tackle. It's like
but
that.
You know how hard it is to pinpoint in game speed tracking somebody's hip and being like, that's the part I want to get them down with. Like,
So
exactly.
it's the fourth quarter, 2-minute drill. You trying to get a stop to get your team back the ball. And then, they call it hip drop tackle. Crucial moment. It's going to be a playoff game. Crucial moment, they call that. It's like, how can you call it? I'd rather them not call it and he gets fined after the game. I think that's a bit.
That's where it seems to be going. But I don't know if y'all remember. I want to say it was around like 2013, 2014 when the Hawk roll tackle was very like popular. Like grab a guy, twist him down by the legs, resulting in a lot of ACL injuries. Even though that didn't become an NFL rule change, it became a coaching point of emphasis to, hey, let's stop grabbing guys by the legs and twisting them and fucking up their whole careers. Let's teach better tackling principles. And I think this rule change has the potential to do the same thing. You see a potential issue with player safety and the longevity of players' careers. Why not try to do something to correct that?
I mean, I think that both things can be true. Or at least, I don't think you have to conflict both with each other. Like, yeah, nobody I think is arguing for more violence in football or more, being intentional about not making the game safe. But there is a line to where you're not having the desired impact on safety, but you're affecting game flow and potentially reversing, or at least not thinking about the other aspect of player safety on the defensive side of the ball. And like I said, just like thinking of just the hesitancy and the lack of aggression that you're going to create with just another rule change, that also puts defensive players at risk. Like, just how many times have we seen, in the same way that you like the hog tie tackle has ruined a lot of offensive guys' careers, how many times have we seen, a guy get run over? A guy, offensive player juke out a defensive guy in a low extremity, something happens. All the stuff that happened at MetLife with the turf this year, that affects defensive guys and offensive guys. So I just think that there's been an emphasis on protecting offensive guys, and defensive guys are out there playing the same physical brand of football. It's a lot tougher on them now. And this is just another thing that is, like I said, is going to create more hesitancy and can lead to more injuries and bad defensive play.
He said he won't bring it back, Mike. You got to hear from the blue.
My CTE acting up. Wait a minute for a moment.
The NFL offseason has a lot of storylines as we continue to talk about it. We just went over the rule changes. Now let's get into free agency again. Last time we were with y'all, we talked about some of the biggest moves of day one, looking at signings like Kirk Cousins and Brian Burns and other big signings that happened on day one, which was a day where the NFL spent a lot of money. Now, since then, we've kind of got a full picture of free agency heading into the drafts. Who is y'all's biggest – let's start out on the negative side. Who is y'all's biggest loser of free agency so far?
I said the Chargers. I think they kind of imploded. Like, when I look at it, I get it that, like, a lot of these guys are aging stars. So they got rid of Everett, Eckler, Mike Williams, and so you really just got rid of your complete offensive core. I think maybe it's a case of Harbaugh knows something we don't. Now, he has been known to be trusted in the NFL. He won a bunch of games, went to a bunch of championship games, so I give him credit. But I feel like you should have kept at least Keenan Allen because he just had the best season of his career probably. I think when you come to offensive core, you have to have bridge guys. So when a guy comes in now, it's no secret. Quentin Johnson was bad. He was the first receiver. For some reason, he was the first receiver taken off the board. God knows why. He was awful. Josh Palmer played better than him, and Josh Palmer played probably 8 games. Josh Palmer comes from God knows what round. He was a good player at Tennessee. He's a phenomenal receiver, but he's not
He's not a star.
Name. Not a star, but he played like one way better than Johnson. So you basically have no core offensive guys. You're bringing in Gus Edwards. Gus is cool, but I think a lot of his success was Gus is. I feel like
that's like saying we got Derrick Henry at home.
Yeah, Gus Edwards is like. I feel like if you have great blocking and you're big,
Mom, can we get a running back? We got Gus Edwards at home. Eat that.
I get Austin Eckler moving on from him. He was bad. That clip of him in the Packers game, you can't live that down. If he has to go, then so be it. You always move on from a running back a year before you should. I got it. But you have no core guys. You have a guy who we like to prop up as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, however you feel about it. And now you're giving him the Michigan offense. Okay, let's say we go get Blake Corum. What do we do now? You got no names at tight end. You got one of the worst rookie receivers we've ever seen. And Josh Palmer is your only solid wideout. Again, this could be a complete case of Harbaugh knows something we don't. He goes and drafts a monster offensive class. But just at face value, I have no idea what he's doing. And to me, they're losing the offseason.
I will say, though, to the point of Harbaugh knowing what he's doing, Quentin Johnson put that Diddy dick on Michigan when TCU played them in the college football playoff. So maybe he knows something we don't, like you said. But Vance, who's your biggest loser?
Man, I'm gonna have to keep it home, man. Dallas Cowboys, they ain't did jack shit, man.
Somebody wake Jerry Jones up, man.
Bro, did you see that picture? It's a meme with him. Somebody was interviewing him. He was drawing on a piece of paper. They zoomed in on the paper, bro. That nigga was scribbling on the paper, bro. It wasn't nothing but scribbles on there, bro. And so clearly it's nothing going on. He's senile in the head. We haven't picked up anybody. We've let everybody go. We lost Gilmore, our CB2. We don't have a running back.
He's still available.
He's not coming back, bro. This is way too deep into the trenches for that. We don't have a running back. They talk about Ezekiel Elliott's coming back. Like, no. Like, I love Zeke, bro. You know, I hope we put him in the ring of honor, all of that, bro. But
did you see that last play? He ain't coming back. He is not coming back.
Why would you want to come back to that, bro? Our second best receiver is a washed up Brandon Cooks. We lost Michael Gallup, so our offense is literally just CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's not getting a contract extension this year. He might be ass, so we never know.
He still got a transparent fade,
man.
Don't get this nigga started.
No, brother. Yeah, the Cowboys lost for sure. There's no way that they're going to be better than last year. The skill-wise, you know, coaching, we got the same coaches. We got a new DC. That might help. Dan Quinn left. He clearly sabotaged that game against the Packers. But the Cowboys lost it. Lost free agency for sure.
I will go with Atlanta. I think the both of y'all picks.
Did they lost?
Yes. I just feel like, I don't know. The Justin Fields thing, bro, you need to calm down. We're going to put an over-under on you, Jonte. Put them goggles up one more damn time. But anyways. I just feel like the Justin Fields thing was too obvious. And sometimes some of these front offices can overthink things. Again, Justin Fields from the Atlanta area, the kind of young quarterback that was better than Desmond Ridder, but somebody that if he wasn't what you expected him, you could still move off of him. And he just gives a level of dynamic ability that Ridder really didn't give you. Kirk Cousins doesn't give you, and the health is the most important part. I don't think Justin Fields has missed that many games in his NFL career. I just think it was there because you don't need even a guy as good as Kirk Cousins to maximize these weapons. Pitts, Drake London, Bijan. You got a really good offensive line. Like you don't need a great guy, especially in that division, to put you over the top. And they just gave all this money to a guy that, at his best, gets you 10 wins and one playoff win. And at his worst, you're going to be at 7-10 in exactly the same spot that you was last year with a whole lot of money on your cap. So I can see this being a Russell Wilson situation because I don't think that white man that wears Bear Bryant, that wears, what's a white person brand, Cody? Tommy Bahama, Eddie Bauer, yeah, stuff like that. I just don't see a white man wearing this type of clothing thriving off Preacher and Techwood. You feel what I'm saying? It doesn't seem like a match. And especially just, again, the Justin Field thing was right there. Especially when you saw what Chicago gave up for him, you had a 6th-round pick to try out Justin Fields. I think that they lost because you could have won. You could get the same results in that division with something that costs a lot less and has a lot more potential than Kirk Cousins. So that was a big loss for me.
I feel that. I don't really feel it because I think Kirk will be a nice fit in Atlanta with the pieces around him. I mean, who can hate on Kirk Frost, bro? That's all I'm gonna say. But for me, I think I am able and willing to hate on him. But you saw what Quavo said, bro. The city embracing him. But for me, I think my loser is gonna have to be the Washington Commanders, bro. Like they went out in free agency and built the All-Pro 2016 team in 2024, bro. Like, how the fuck do you get rid of your owner, try to turn a new page, bring in a head coach, and go back to the players who were good 6 years ago, bro? Bring in Zach Ertz, bring in Bobby Wagner, just bring in Austin Eckler too, bro. Like, all 3 of those guys' career will be over in the next 2 to 3 years. Like, that's one of the dumbest free agencies, in my opinion, I've ever seen. On top of losing a lot of young talent, you lose Montez Sweat during the season, lose Chase Young during the season, and then you let Curtis Samuel walk, who is one of the better receivers in that core, in my opinion, a very versatile offensive piece. And then you ship out Sam Howell, who, could have been a franchise guy. You only give him 2 years. But I just think there's too much constant change in Washington for that franchise to ever be going in the right direction.
Let me push back on you just a little bit, because I think that actually they're winners in my eyes, because some of the names are older, obviously, but that means you don't got to give a lot of money to these guys. And all it takes is one of these old heads to pop off and look like that 2016 version of themselves. You got a discount, your team looks better. And then, like you said, that loss and turns into a win. Like, even just from my perspective, Eckler, fair market deal for a running back when other backs got paid a lot more. I think Josh Jacobs was making more than his 1 year. Eckler was making over his entire contract. Wagner, obviously. Zach Ertz is a guy that we've seen be a Pro Bowler before. Dante Fowler has provided winning football. So I don't necessarily, like, just the amount of money they spent, I don't think you could call them losers, because they didn't really make any decisions I can see backfiring. And then, obviously, we know they're going to take a quarterback in the draft. So I think with a rookie quarterback and listen, Drake May, I think will be pretty good, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Jaden Daniels, or that's the only one, because I don't have trust in either of them guys. But I think if you can get upgraded the quarterback spot from Sam Howell, at least not turning the ball over wise, and then the upgrade that you get from Ron Rivera to Dan Quinn, I think that coupling that with free agency, I think they're one of my winners, actually.
Okay. I think that's interesting to take a little reset in Washington instead of a losing free agency period. I understand what you're saying there. So, but like I said, let's flip the script and let's talk about the biggest winners in free agency.
I don't want to be a homer, but it's hard to look at what the Jets have done and not say that. You got Tyron Smith. There's a guy that could have commanded $18-19 million a year. We get him for base 8.5 up to 13 if he plays. I think all 17 games.
8.5.
If he plays all 17, 13 million is a bargain for that guy. That's the top 10 tackle in the league. Morgan Moses. We picked up 3 starters in free agency. Low flyer risk on Mike Williams, because we got Garrett Wilson, obviously. So I don't think that the moves that we made freed us up in the draft a lot more, because we was locked in the tackle before free agency started. Whether the guy from Penn State, hoping Joe Altfile, Fuaga from Oregon State, like we were locked in on tackle pretty much. And now we got flexibility. If Odunze falls to 10, if Bowers is at 10, if, like I said, if Alt or the kid from Penn State falls to 10, or even necessarily if there's nobody that we like at 10, trade him back, get in some more assets. So I think that Joe Douglas has been very shrewd in his first couple off seasons in with the Jets, and he did all of this after saying he did not want to spend big in free agency. He expected to be Dallas. He didn't want to go outside like young boy, but he just saw the way the market shaped up, specifically with Tyron Smith, and he was like, "Let me capitalize on this rather than saying what if next year going into 20 Rodgers maybe last season with a rookie tackle." Or just like you weren't gonna buy. We weren't gonna find a better left tackle than Tyron Smith, or a better right tackle than Morgan Moses. So knowing that the history with the turf at MetLife, plus Rodgers not being a guy that's mobile, those were the 2 biggest needs that we needed to address, and we did. I feel like we addressed them the best in the league.
Yeah, bro. I don't hate that pick just for the fact that the Bills got really
a lot worse.
Yeah, one of us should have said they was a loser because the way they shitted their pants. They had yeah. But you guys definitely made up a lot of ground. But for me, the winner, I want to say the Steelers, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm a rock with the Titans. They had a crazy free agency. They had money to blow. Receiver, they got Calvin Ridley. He looks good. Tony Pollard, he's gonna be splitting those reps like he did with Zeke. But this time he's going to be doing with Tajay Spears, who plays exactly like he does. That's going to be a nice complimentary backfield. Got the O-line, they're retooling that O-line. They got Lloyd Cushenberry, the center. Sadiq Charles, he's a guard. He's on a 1-year prove-it deal. So if he's sorry, we can get rid of him. But we still have more money to blow. Kenneth Murray, if he's sorry, we can get rid of him. We only gave him a 1-year deal. We also got Sebastian Joseph Day, D lineman. He's gonna add some depth to that D line in the interior, and then we got a Awuzie at corner. So
very good pickup.
Yeah, the pieces that they put together for the Titans was really good. So I didn't really have faith in this front office, but I like what they did in this free agency.
TJ, how you feel? Who's your winner?
I had the Eagles. I think they kept it short and sweet. 2 big splashes. Saquon behind the O-line and that offense. They got some freaks outside. No Diddy. You got Smitty. You got Goddard. You got A.J. Brown. So you look at it from a defensive perspective. Who's our focus? We're scouting. Who are we going to, scheme to? If you're a defensive coordinator, who are you picking? Because they have someone at every side on every level, at every side of the field that can punish you. You can toss the Saquon out the backfield. A.J. Brown can tear you up. Smitty is a beast. Goddard can be unguardable in close quarters. So I think that was a good deal for them. Division rival, phenomenal O-line. I think we've talked about that offensive coordinator they had last year was god-awful. So getting rid of him was a win. Can't get any worse. He should be working at McDonald's, Wendy's. He should be bagging up burgers because he had one of the best offenses.
Not the burgers, TJ. Damn.
They dog walked to the Super Bowl the year before, and this man had them running Madden curls and in routes, running into each other. You had complete quarters of the field. There was no receivers even running that way. About as bad of a job you can do with some really, really good offensive pieces. So I think Saquon is not washed. I don't know what narrative is being spun. He was getting fed so much. Like, that offense was so bad. Like, Saquon would lead the game and catches and just there was one game he outgained Tom DeVito. I don't know what that really means, but it happened. He probably had 20 catches in that Jets game. That was the worst football game I think I've ever watched in my life. And then signing. I don't know how that game was.
Slander my team, bro. You knew it. You slandered my team.
No, I'm talking about the Giants, not y'all. That was the worst football. I mean, I can't let y'all look good. Y'all threw Brees Hall the ball 25 times in that game, so I can't let y'all off. But I think also bringing back CD Deuce, tracing CD Deuce all the way back to the ones I think he was a stud slot corner. We let him go for a ham sandwich and an open bag of chips. I don't know what we were thinking. Him leaving Philly was a little bit weird. It was a little awkward. I thought they had a good marriage. I thought he played very well. Bringing him back, they had some really bad struggles on the defensive back end, but they still have some good pieces. Blankenship was pretty decent. You got Bradbury. But they still have some good defense. Defensive line is unreal. I think if they get a real good linebacker in the middle, I think they can shore that up. I think they were a few good pieces away from going back on that run, losing to Baker Mayfield and the Bucs pretty badly. That's as bad as it gets. I don't think they've gotten any worse, and I think those 2 big moves were very solid for them. Good money deals. I think those were probably the 2. I think Saquon was probably the best offensive player in the cycle. CD Deuce, you know what you're going to get. I think he brings that energy and intensity that they missed. So I think they kept it short and sweet. I like what they did. So those would be my winners.
No, that's a fact, because especially the CD Deuce deal, he left for a year, saw how shitty they were, and was like, y'all don't want to give me my money, so I'm going to make y'all give me my money. Came back, and I think he'll definitely be a valuable piece to that Eagles secondary. But for me, my winner in free agency is a team that really started to climb at the end of the season last year, and I think they will continue to climb with the pieces they picked up in free agency, and that's the Green Bay Packers. You look at them last year, they were one of the youngest. I think they were actually the youngest roster in the NFL, made a deep playoff push, beat the shit out the Cowboys in the first round, had the 49ers to the wire, and now they go into this offseason. They bring in Josh Jacobs on a similar deal that Aaron Jones signed a few years back, and I think they're going to get more value from that deal with Josh Jacobs, looking at health and running style. He can do a lot of the things that Aaron Jones can. Maybe missing a little bit of the explosivity, but I think it's a very team-friendly deal for Green Bay. And on top of that, bringing in Xavier McKinney, who's one of the better safeties coming out of that class on a 4-year, $68 million deal. I think that's a very good deal to shore up that back end. We saw that 49ers game, a lot of drop picks, a lot of inconsistent play from the secondary. Shout out Simone Biles' husband, because he was out there getting torched. And so I think the Packers did a really good job of shoring up the holes on their roster and continuing to build on the timeline that they are on.
No, I like that.
I appreciate it, bro. You know, I'll be doing my homework type shit. But, you know, it's a lot of other deals that happen, you know, over this free agency period that might not get as much love. And one of those deals for me is Hollywood Brown going to the Chiefs. I'm gonna say he's gonna put up a 1,200-yard year this year.
Oh, he went to the Chiefs?
Yeah,
hey,
Hollywood
bro,
Brown signed with the Chiefs.
You got to relax, bro.
I missed that one. I can't lie to you.
What
you said
mean?
1,200 yards?
Yes.
Bro,
Him and Rasheed Rice, Travis Kelce will be one of the best receiving cores in the league this year. So talking about Hollywood and some of these other moves that were made during free agency, what are some other peripheral moves that have happened since day one that y'all can see having a major impact on this NFL season?
Bears make the playoffs next year.
Nigga, he said name the move, not the producer.
All the moves they made. They got a running back. They got two dogs.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I ain't gonna lie.
Two
bringing
dogs.
in DeAndre Swift, I do like the Keenan Allen move, but bringing in DeAndre Swift to a backfield that already had Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert, I just think it gets muddy. But continue, brother.
I'm just saying the Bears got two dogs. They're gonna make the playoffs. The Vikings gonna have a rookie at QB. Who else is in that division? The Packers are the Packers. They'll win a division, but the Bears are gonna get a wild card spot. And I just feel
I think you're forgetting about Detroit, brother. But
they're gonna fall. They're gonna fall off.
Where does that leave Detroit?
They're gonna fall off. They're gonna fall. They're Detroit. They're the Lions. The Lions. I'm telling you right now, the Lions are going to fall off. It was a cool run.
Otherwise.
Bro, it was a cool run. I promise it was. But Jake Goff, he's cold every 5 years, bro. He's like an eclipse, man. So when the eclipse comes on April 8th, you know you won't see it again for a long time. That's the same thing with Jared Goff.
Wow. For me, going off kind of my commander thing, Frankie Louvu was a guy that I think could have been a Pro Bowler last year for Carolina. And you got Dan Quinn coming in. Obviously, we know where he lays his hat on the defensive side of the ball.
And shaving.
Brother, don't put that Jonte Porter mess on that man. You don't know that for sure. But no, just you have a new defensive coach coming in, and you have a defensive leader in the middle of your defense that can affect all 3 levels of the football, and it's still young enough and not a big enough name to where you worry about having paid too much for him or him kind of falling off a cliff of play that's unsustainable from last year. So I think that he could have been a Pro Bowler last year. He popped several times in game and on the tape for me. And I just think that that's the type of guy that not a lot of people know his name, but you see this all the time in San Francisco, whether it's Dre Greenlaw a couple years ago, or the safety net there now, like these guys that not a lot of people know, but are the pillars of really good defenses. And I think that we've seen this formula in Washington before. Like they almost beat Tom Brady in a playoff game with Taylor Heineke at quarterback because how strong the defense was. So I think that whatever quarterback they take at 2, probably be better than Taylor Heineke. And if they can have a defense to support that guy, I think that it's easy to get back to that spot, especially in the division that they're in.
So you got a peripheral move that you like?
Yeah, why are we sleeping on King Henry? Why are we not talking about
peripheral? That's in front of all eyes.
I mean, to be fair, yes, it is in front of all eyes, but we have not talked about King Henry going to Baltimore.
Yeah,
and that is a very nasty combo.
Okay, so I get that he's getting up there in age, and we all start to quiver when running backs hit 28, like, oh, whatever shall we do? But newsflash, King Henry, he's still him. Derrick Henry was second in the NFL in rushing yards. I know it was a down year for rushing yards. The leader only had like 1,300, but Derrick Henry was second with 1,167.
Behind the trash line at that.
Behind the trash line. Thank you for that. He was seventh in rushing touchdowns in an offense that couldn't get down the field. He had 12. They didn't know who would be their quarterback from quarter to quarter. Forget week to week. They was putting in a new. It looks like they was putting a new quarterback.
All right. We get the point.
Yeah. Every quarter. Okay. They signed Derrick Henry 2 years, $16 million. They have a phenomenal offensive line. They have probably one of the best rushing quarterbacks we've ever seen. So that's a nightmare defensively. That offense can only get better. So they let OBJ go, but you got Zay Flowers, you got Mark Andrews. Likely has got to see the field. You've got all these weapons. Again, I bring up the point of, from a defensive coordinator standpoint, who do you scheme? The Ravens are going to present that same exact matchup nightmare. If we're talking about a pool read with Lamar Jackson and King Henry, as a defense, what on God's earth do you do? Because even let's say you play it right. King Henry can run through you, run around you. Lamar Jackson can make you look silly. So even if you play perfect defense, I think what he has left, what he still has in the tank, I think this is a phenomenal move. It's not crazy money. And again, I don't think he's washed. I think that this can only go wrong if it goes awfully wrong. But I just can't see, So, no, he's not going to put up 2K. I think if Derrick Henry has even just barely scratching 1,000 with like 12, 13 touchdowns. I mean, look, Gus Edwards had, 1 billion touchdowns. Gus Edwards probably second or third in touchdowns. So we don't have to have Derrick Henry at home. We got Derrick Henry here. We got Gus Edwards at home. No, we got Derrick Henry at home. So I think if they get one more receiver, good luck scheming up that offense because there's just about everywhere they can hurt you. Again, if they don't want to run 2 tight end sets, you can flex Lively out wide. He is a beast. That kid is a monster. I think they have offensive talent all over the place. Derrick Henry only makes them better. So I think that's a move. Yeah, of course it's in our faces, but I think it's getting overshadowed by some of these other moves.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. Because even when we recorded it last time, I was like, no other team made a Super Bowl move in terms of they could push themselves over the Chiefs or even the 49ers at that point, besides maybe Philly if they're able to get the defense off the field. But the Ravens are definitely the ones that can challenge the Chiefs now.
I'm going to put a pause there. The Ravens can only challenge the Chiefs if Todd Monken doesn't forget who the fuck he has on his team. Like, that's what screwed them over last year. They had more pass attempts than rush attempts. You're the best rushing offense in the league. Now you have Derrick Henry. There is no reason not to tell Lamar to turn around, give that ball to that big black runaway slave, and let him do what he does best.
Sir, did you have to refer to him like that?
Look at his braids and you tell me how else I should refer to him.
You can't hip drop tackle, though.
And Saquon has already taken to Twitter himself to say thank you to everyone who's shown me love and support over the past 6 years. Forever grateful. Excited for the next chapter. Blue heart emoji. Peace.
Okay,
right.
Blue heart emoji. I'm looking at
He's dead to us now.
Yeah, say it.
He's dead to us.
Because he won't say it.
You're dead to us, Saquon. Good luck. You're dead to me.
So last topic of the day, we got to talk about these NFL draft storylines. Draft coming up next month. So some of the big storylines going around, we're just going to simply buy or sell. Draft time is like the stock market, bro. You buying or you selling these stocks. So to start off, Malik Neighbors is on the same level, if not better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Y'all buying that or y'all selling that?
Selling it, baby. No, sir. That's crazy. Brian Thomas is not.
But this nigga just did a hat check.
You an eater, man.
This might be your last episode, bro. That was crazy. No license, brother. But no, I just think that Neighbors is just so raw as a route runner. As a route. He separates with speed, but he's not a guy that's tracking the ball downfield like Chase, who everybody wants to compare him to. And he tried to be an X, and it didn't work for him. So he's exclusively a slot guy. I would not draft a guy in the top 10 that we've seen try to be X and cannot do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's one of those guys where he has to have a quarterback that's actually pretty good to be able to make plays. And that's a whole different thing compared to just being a guy where you could throw him on a team and make his quarterback better. So with that being said, I think you could throw MSJ, Maserati Marv on a team, and he makes the team better. With him, he's going to need a quarterback that can actually get him the ball, get it in the right spots. He's not going to be wide ass open to where you can just throw the ball to him.
She said, you look pissed over there. Talk to me, twin.
No.
I'm not pissed. I was just, Vance, were you saying that Neighbors was a guy that needs a good quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay. So with Marv, I feel like he's one of the more polished, like NFL ready. Like you plug him in, he's probably going to be the best receiver on your team. Straight to the Pro Bowl, red zone mismatch nightmare. He gives me like AJ Green, like nasty outside, like D-Hop. Like, even if you're in his face, I think he's going to come down with it. But I think, to answer your question, I put him on the same level just because I feel like Neighbors, I think y'all were saying that he's raw. Like, he doesn't even really, he's not a route technician like Harrison, but, when he catches that ball, I think his contested catch ability is just as good. He's not a route technician like Harrison, but I think you can do more with him, in terms of what NFL offenses want to do. What you see with Marv is what you get. He's going to be steady Eddie, Mr. Can't guard in the red zone. I think he's going to be nasty. But with Neighbors,
I don't think a nigga has ever said Steady Eddie on this podcast before you. So thank you for that, brother.
I think with Neighbors like that, he's a little bit more flashy. How these NFL offenses want to do, they want to, move a guy around, put him in the slot, put him outside. I think Neighbors in the first game against Florida State, he really struggled on the outside. I don't think that would be wise to put him out there. He's not a bigger guy. Like, I know people compare him to Chase, but Chase is a little bit more mean and nasty with his routes on the outside, so he can survive on the outside. I think if you keep Neighbors inside, not quite Tyreek Hill, but he's got crazy snap down, fast, twitchy, freak athlete, everything that you can want in like a home run player. I think he just has something that can't be taught. Marv is, the guy you can plug in, but Neighbors can really like shoot for the stars. I think I'll put them on the same.
And I think I'm going to have to kind of agree with you in a way, bro. Marv is a guy who can get 7-8 catches every game, finish with 80 to, 80 plus yards a game. But Neighbors is a guy who can go 4 for 120. I don't want to compare him to Jalen Hyatt because I think he's definitely more skilled, but he definitely has that explosive play ability, both as a deep threat and both as a catch it and get gone threat. Definitely is MSJ my one, but I always have to say Neighbors has definitely solidified itself as a 2 in this draft. So maybe not as high as MSJ, but just a step under.
Listen, man, you can duplicate what you get from Neighbors. You can't duplicate what you get from Maserati Marv.
Yeah, that is.
And so it's just like, let's just say you're a quarterback of a team. Who do you want to, who would you rather have on your team? Neighbors or Harrison?
Like I said, I would rather have MHJ. No question. MHJ for sure.
But it's just like to say that can he be on Mars level? Yes. Will he be on his level? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it, man.
Nah, and that's the thing. Like, it's obviously draft talking. We just have so much time to study, talk about this stuff. Obviously, the combos like is Neighbors better than Harrison and Brian Thomas better than Neighbors. Like, we're definitely the theoretical part of the draft cycle, and I think people need to stick with the evaluations that they made initially. Malik Neighbors is a guy that did a lot of rising throughout the season, but there's a reason why he had to rise because we've seen the wide receiver thing at LSU go great with Chase, Justin Jefferson, but we also seen Tayshaun Boutte. So it's not like it's a one-to-one type of thing. So you got damn brother, pick your head up. But like I said, just the situation that he was in is not a one-to-one transition from the offense and the routes that he ran at LSU versus to the NFL. Depending on what we think of Jaden Daniels, it's not likely that he'll get a quarterback as good as Jaden Daniels day one. And then, like we both said, like, bro, this is a dude that is exclusively a slot. Like, watching his tape and watching him trying to get off press is not a pretty sight. And like the same way that you said, TJ, with Chase, we had the contested stuff down the field, the strength that you don't necessarily see, but you can comes up in one-on-one contested ball situations. None of that is there with Neighbors. So this is a guy that he's literally in the slot because you can't press him in the slot. So he needs that ramp to be effective. And if he's not getting open on a dig, curl, go, and creating yak afterwards, that's not a guy that, even something like a slot fade, I don't see him creating a ton of separation and consistently winning jump balls, contested catch situations, 20, 30 yards down the field. And just to see the holes that he has in his game for a guy that's consistently top 10 now compared to Marv, I just think it's ludicrous that people are thinking that Marvin is better, the Neighbors is better than Marvin. And I think there's a significant gap between Neighbors and Brian Thomas, but I can even be convinced the stuff that he does in terms of the height, the speed, catch radius potential. I can be convinced that there are teams out there that would take Brian Thomas over Neighbors.
Hell no. TJ, last word on this topic, man.
Nah, you sleep, man. That's a hope, but you know what? Yeah, TJ, go ahead, bro.
When I look at Neighbors, he reminds me, maybe y'all agree, he reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra, the way that he's twitchy. He's not a huge guy. He's big body. He's not tall, but he's solid. They're fast. Amon-Ra he's in close quarters. He's a matchup nightmare. He can burn. He can catch. He can toe tap. He can do it all. I think I definitely see the gap. Maybe I don't view it as maybe I'm a little biased. I don't view it as a huge gap because I don't view them as the same type of player. So I don't even know if it's like fair to even say Marv is like the Tay Adams, like outside matchup demon. And you got Neighbors is more Amon Ra. If you even move Chase inside, he's not like I said, he's not as big and nasty as Chase, but like I think that like I said, there is a gap, but I feel like it's a little bit irresponsible to say he's so much more ahead because they don't play the same position. If Marv went inside, he might get bench pressed. When Neighbors went outside, he was getting bench pressed. So I think it's all about what you do with what guy, but it's easy to see that Marv is probably the more pro-ready. Like, I'd be surprised if he even struggles a bit. Like, those NFL corners, they're going to get baked as soon as he gets into the league.
No cap. That Collar MHJ connection going to be crazy. But next storyline we got, Minnesota will move up from 11 to select their Kirk replacement, whoever that might be. Mind you, last year's draft saw 6 trades in the first round. And Minnesota's in a position where Justin Jefferson still hasn't re-signed his extension, and they're in desperate need of a quarterback unless their contingency plan is to start Sam Darnold and for him to be the guy. So are y'all buying or selling the fact that Minnesota is going to move up from that 11th spot to get the guy that they want, whoever that may be?
I'm going to sell it. I want to buy it because that's what they should do. I think they would be content with hoping that McCarthy slides to 11, which is crazy to say at this point. You're not going to get Jaden Daniels most likely because he's going to be gone.
He is going to be so committed to taking care of himself that you're going to have to worry about size or he doesn't weigh enough. Lamar's done a pretty good job with his size. I think Mahomes, I wouldn't consider him a giant because he's going to get the ball out to the playmakers and make plays for Washington.
If it's me, I would try, but I'm gonna sell just because I think that it's not gonna happen. If it comes down to it, I think they're gonna stay at 11 and take the best available quarterback.
I mean, I can see it. I don't feel with the offensive, they have a really good offensive core. I don't see I mean, there is some urgency, but I don't feel the need to make like a knee-jerk reaction like, oh, look at all these good quarterbacks. We have to move up. I think with the guy that they have at the helm, Kevin O'Connell, I think he can take later up around sleeper, and maybe they don't want to reach for Penix, but I don't think they're in a desperate win now situation that, we have to, if we don't take this guy, we'll be regretting it for years. Yeah. Their core offensively is young. They have young O-line, young receivers. Darnold has shown that he can be a decent-ish bridge quarterback. There is no rush. If they get Hockenson back, they have Jettas, they have Addison, they have a good O-line. They got Aaron Jones. That's another move that people haven't talked about. I think there is no urgency to make a rash move because if they have to trade up, that team can ask for a king's ransom. They can hold them hostage and say, we need X, Y, and Z. If you don't give it up, you're not getting this pick. And they can really mortgage their future in a negative way. We've seen teams make poor decisions like trading up for Trey Lance. And luckily, the 49ers, they were able to make up for that. But every Mr. Irrelevant pick is not going to be able to lead you to the Super Bowl. That's a 1 in a million phenomenon. So I don't think that Minnesota should move up and let's just say they want Terry McCarthy. I think that'd be a huge mistake. I think they should stay patient. If they get a guy like Penix, Kevin O'Connell can work wonders with him. McCarthy, not the guy, but if you let's just say if they even wanted to go the Bo Nix route, he's a guy that's what you're gonna get. He's consistent, he's accurate, he's not flashy, but they have the best receiver in pro football. You don't need Mahomes. They have one of the better young receivers, Addison. You don't need a guy that's going to wow you. You don't need to risk your entire future moving forward. Maybe if you see a guy you might want next year, but I think they have a good enough bridge gap quarterback and a really good offensive core that they don't have to make a rash decision. With that being said, there's always 1 or 2 moves that we will never see coming. So I can give my opinion, but it's no telling what these GMs are thinking because they're always going to do some out of the wazoo shit every draft. So if that's the pick, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that would not be the right decision for them.
No, I definitely agree with that unless they have their eyes set like, this is the guy that's going to set our franchise. Mm-hmm. That's going to be our franchise guy for years to come. That's going to be paired with Jay Jettis, and we have to go get him. I don't see them making the move. But where are you finna add, Vance?
Yeah, man. No, I completely agree with that. I don't think there's a big enough gap from all of these quarterbacks to the point where they can wait to the second, third, fourth round and just take a flyer on a Spencer Rattler, somebody like that in the later round.
I like that, bro. I like that. And so, last buy sell topic: JJ McCarthy will be one of the first 3 quarterbacks taken off the board. Heard some rumors coming out of Washington that they're eyeing McCarthy with the second pick. How y'all feel? I know I'm a JJ McCarthy shitter.
Nah, bro. Listen, I don't. You know what? I never believed in him, but after watching Brock Purdy for the last 2 years, if you put him in the right system with the right players, it's definitely possible that he could be solid. But if you depend on him to go carry somebody with a shitty offense like Washington, like no, that's not gonna work. They're gonna be 3-14, 2-15. But if you throw him in a system with players that like he would be perfect on the Vikings, honestly, man. To the point where he can hand it off to Aaron Jones, throw the check downs. Oh, there go Jay Jettis right there. Adson's wide open on the slant on the end route. I think he would be fine in that type of system with the Vikings. But with that being said, bro, the first 3, he's not that talented. He's assistant quarterback for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be a huge mistake. I think that's Zach Wilson waiting to happen all over again. You got a guy that's like, okay, so he's a winning quarterback. Okay, not gonna wow you. He's got pretty good arm strength, but it's not like he's not jumping off at you. They didn't trust him. Maybe it was off. They didn't trust him to throw the ball. I think every draft cycle we always find this, white quarterback prospect that was not on the forefront, and we propel him to the front. They did it with Wentz. They did it with Zach Wilson. I think that once it's like the worst game of telephone. Once one Trubisky, he was second. Once one guy gets this idea, it's like the worst game of telephone ever. Once one GM says one thing, they're all like, it's like the seagulls from Finding Nemo. They're all like, oh, wait, should we draft JJ McCarthy? Like, no one in their right mind was even thinking about putting this guy in the top 3 conversation until that Washington GM said it, until Rich Eisen was interviewing a guy. Daniel Jeremiah gets on NFL Network. It's like, hey, I'm hearing a lot of JJ McCarthy buzz. You got to let that die. You're looking at a guy in college whose team didn't even trust him to throw a pass in the second half. There's games, he hit 22 touchdown passes in 15 games. You got a guy who's not even attempting a pass in a half of a football game. They're not even trusting him to throw double-digit pass, let alone pass attempts. Like, I think it's an indictment on maybe their system, but it's college, man. If your coach doesn't trust you to let it fly, why would an NFL guy come in and say, I'd really like to have that guy on my team? 1.2 touchdowns a game. You can't do anything with that. It's ugly.
Nah, that's a fact, man. And kind of like to continue talking about this JJ McCarthy conversation, as Vance kind of alluded to earlier, these quarterbacks at the top, there doesn't seem to be much of a gap between them. Whether it be the quarterbacks at the top 3, I mean, looking at Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May, or the next 3 being McCarthy, Penix, and Nix. Just looking at those 2 groups of 3 quarterbacks, the first 3 and then those next 3, how big of a gap is there really between those 2 groups? Because as we've seen, McCarthy is starting to get some top 3 love. Penix and Nix kind of started out the draft cycle and kind of that top 3 in that top 3 mix a little bit. So how much of a gap is there between that top 3 and then those next 3 that will come off the board?
But it's Caleb Williams is at the top. After that, I think it's just Jaden Daniels. And then after that, I think everybody else can be grouped together. That's how I think it is if I had to guess right now. But it's definitely Caleb Williams. But the way that they're trying to group it is where it's Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, and Drake May. So if it's those 3, I feel as if, honestly, I think Jaden Daniels is the best out of those 3. Some people think it's Drake May. Some people, for some reason, now think that it's JJ McCarthy. So I think in the second tier, I think it's definitely Jaden McDaniels and Drake May. But with that being said, that third tier is not really that bad. I wouldn't trade up if it's not for Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't trade up for Drake May. I wouldn't trade up for JJ McCarthy. So at that point, just take the flyer. and take one of those quarterbacks in the next tier. I didn't even think about Bo Nix when you mentioned him. So like at that point, it's really just like, listen, just take him. If he's good, he's good. If he doesn't pan out, there's always free agents around.
And I mean, I personally I've been a Penix fan for this whole season. One of the better quarterbacks in college football. I thought he should have won the Heisman. No disrespect to Jaden Daniels, but to me, looking at that top three, I started out as a Drake May disbeliever, but I've kind of turned into a believer. I didn't realize bro was 6'4", doing that. He's kind of got a little bit of Josh Allen to his game. I think if that can be fine-tuned, he can be a damn good quarterback. So looking at that top three of the established top three of Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, I think those guys are all – well, I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are going to be bona fide stars. Drake May, McCarthy, I think those guys are going to be guys that need to walk into the right situation in order to be franchise guys. Looking at the next two, Penix and Nix, I think Penix is a day one starter. And Bo Nix, he can be a day one starter in the right system as well. Out of all the quarterbacks in the draft, Bo Nix gives me the most Brock Purdy, kind of like you said, Vance, instead of J.J. McCarthy. You look at what Nix did at Oregon, a lot of short passes turned into long games by dynamic playmakers. And I think if Nix walked into a situation like Minnesota, like TJ said, he could be a damn good quarterback, especially when he adds the athleticism on top of that. So I guess my point is there's not a big gap, but a lot of the guys outside of the top two and Williams and Daniels will depend heavily on the situation they go into.
So what quarterbacks do you think are worthy of being traded up for?
It depends on where you're trading up. In the first round, I think the only first round worthy quarterbacks are Daniels, May, Caleb Williams, and Michael Penix. I don't even think McCarthy is a first rounder in my opinion.
That's interesting.
No, I agree with you, Nick. I think it's crazy how like narratives and tide swing. When did Michael Penix become this underrated prospect? These big boards have him in like the 40s, 50s. I think that's utterly ridiculous. If you turn down all the noise and all the BS, all the narratives, all you are going to see is a guy that's slung that pill like we have never seen. I'm talking about every throw on the field, pocket piece, 3-step drop, lasers. They had a good O-line, but a lot of times he was, he's not asked to be mobile and run around, but he can do it.
He can move in the fucking pocket though, bro.
He can move in the pocket like it's a simulation. Arm strength out the wazoo. I get they had good receivers, but like a quarterback should aspire to be in a good situation. When did we start judging guys for having a bad situation? That's not the norm. A lot of these NFL teams are like, oh, we have this. It's like we penalize guys for having good wideouts and good. That's what you want. We always say, oh, he has this. That's the point. The point of building an NFL roster is to have the best that you can have. When did we start penalizing guys for having great receivers? Michael Penix was throwing some of the craziest dots I've ever seen, but yet I wake up every morning and I see J.J. McCarthy at 3. What are we doing? Michael Penix. Now, I don't agree with you that he should have won the Heisman, but I think it was closer than people would think. I think he should have definitely been the bona fide 2. But I will say that was a one-game race. He played not so great in that Oregon game, and Daniels went psychotic in the last 2 games, A&M, Florida. So I think it was closer than – obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think that was a one-game race. I don't think Daniels really pulled away until he had that crazy game. I think draft analysts are being really irresponsible with this Penix thing. 45, it's ridiculous. He was second in Heisman voting, leading the country in everything. You just got to use your eyes.
He made Indiana relevant, bro.
Facts, bro. That's what I was about to say. Like, you talk about weapons. He did the same shit at Indiana with 0 guys who are in the league right now.
So I think, to your point about the gap, I don't think it's that big of a gap because these GMs don't even know what they want to do. Never have we seen a mock draft. Some of these mock drafts are so vastly different. In years past, we've known that Trevor Lawrence is going to go here. We knew Joe Burrow was going first. We knew with the Baker Mayfield draft, that was a little bit up and down. But we've known in the past some of these guys are where they're going to go. This draft, this might even sound crazy, but who's to say the Bears don't take Jaden Daniels? Maybe I wouldn't advise it, but we have no clue. It wouldn't be the first time somebody has taken a nut first pick. Trayvon Walker was the first pick in the draft. I don't know where that came from. I had never watched a single down of Jared Goff or Carson Wentz. They went 1 or 2. So it wouldn't be the first time that they take a flyer on a guy. I think the gap is not big. I don't think these teams know what they're going to do. I fully expect and I fully think that some of these teams are going to make a knee-jerk reaction move. Like, oh, shit, who do we take? Oh, they took so-and-so. Damn it. We were going to take that guy. This quarterback class feels so unorganized in terms of what's going to happen. I think that is a testament to how close some of these guys are. But McCarthy, like, I'd take a flyer on Spencer Rattler before I take a flyer on J.J. McCarthy. Because how quick we forget Spencer Rattler was supposed to go number 1 overall the year before. Like, he was a top. So how soon we forget these narratives get spun, these guys get in the doghouse. This guy, Spencer Rattler, we thought he was the next coming. So how soon we forget that he can really ball. We're like, oh, he got a job taking by Caleb Williams. He couldn't possibly compete. Well, look what he did at South Carolina. All he did was lead the SEC in passing with the worst offensive line I've ever seen and one good receiver. They were running Xavier to get into the ground. All his receivers were done. So I think that would be irresponsible. It's very Zach Wilson. I think that we've seen history repeat itself too many times. Please, God, spare us this. I have a list for you right here, Nick. This is a list of some very foul, nasty first-round QBs taken since 2011. Y'all might want to close your ears for this. Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, Brandon Whedon, EJ Manuel, Money Manziel, Blake Bortles, Paxton Lynch, Josh Rosen, Zach Wilson. These are guys that have been taken since the past 13 years. So we have watched this mistake. I didn't even mention Mariota and Winston, who went 1 and 2. They weren't complete busts, but they're getting to that point. The jury's still out on Sam Darnold, but they're getting to that point. Baker Mayfield, he's towing the line. So those are 15, 16 guys I just named. So we can look at history. We can spare ourselves this pain. Y'all just visibly cringe when I read this list. And these are J.J. McCarthy's waiting to happen. They've done this every year since 2011. Can you please spare us this pain and spare yourself from having to get on ESPN every morning and talk about how bad Zach Wilson is? So we talked about how generational he was for months before the draft. And every segment after that in these past few has been a punchline about how bad he is. Please, God, spare us that. Let's skip that. J.J. McCarthy, go to the Browns, backup quarterback, do something else. Please stay out of the top 3. Don't make that mistake.
Damn.
Just make sure you blank out EJ Manuel name, bro. He was on the pod.
EJ Manuel was a guest of the pod, and he is definitely in the intro.
Not bad, not bad.
But I mean, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Shout out Paxton Lynch, Memphis legend, but I think that's a good way to close the episode, bro. A prayer that we don't have to go through another NFL season of hearing about how bad a first-round quarterback was, bro. And so I guess with that, man, that's the new look at No Cap with my man TJ. We're gonna be back to y'all with even more. And we out of here. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, do all that. And like I said, we out of here, man.
Yeah.